If there's one thing I've learned in all my years of on and off producing is that making things harder for yourself rarely pays off. It's not like, say, progressive overload, which is the main piece to the bodybuilding puzzle, whereby you need to progressively make things harder or rather heavier for yourself in order to gain muscle. There's many aspects of life that work that way, like sports in general. The harder you make things for yourself, no, that's not right. The harder things become for you, no, that's worse. The harder you get for things, the higher the difficulty, the more prepared you become, and the more prepared you are, the better you're equipped to deal with all sorts of scenarios thrown at you, which makes you a worthy exemplar that people want to work with. That's fun and all, but sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. If your goal is to make music that people can and indeed need to understand within the span of 30 seconds or less and jive to, then there's a certain law of simplicity you need to respect. Not to say that complexity should be thrown out the window, but I think there's a fine line between complexity and filling your track with what ultimately becomes noise. Noise that mirrors your insecurity as a producer. Complexity happens when you examine your track the way a physician examines you in order to figure out what you need, not what they need. There's something to be said about being a good problem solver. If someone gives you a terrible mix, it's up to you to do your best mastering it. Only the most experienced engineers won't master it because you can't fix mixing or production issues in the mastering stage, so they'll send it back to you to fix it yourself, and thank you for making them contemplate suicide. And again, when it's someone else's material, you may have no choice, but if it's yours, you damn well do. And that's what I'm getting at. Make things easier for yourself, or rather, don't make things harder for yourself by not doing the proper things at the proper stages of creation. The process starts with recording and ends with mastering, or, if we're being honest, 70% of the time it starts with recording and ends in tears. And if you don't perform properly, you won't record properly. If you don't mix properly, you don't produce properly, which creates problems at the mixing stage that bleed over to mastering, so on and so forth. It creates this clusterfuck of a daisy chain where, because the farmer forgot to wash his hands before milking the cow, it led to CEO Bob getting a serious infection after drinking his afternoon glass of milk, which led to him being replaced by incompetent George, who ran the company to the ground and its employees out of a job, which led to someone not getting their usual Snickers bar in the morning, which is sad. This butterfly effect is often felt in the musical space, and you're better off re-recording a track for the 97th time rather than going to the mixing stage with a bad take. You're better off cutting down on the entire sample pack's worth of sounds you've stuffed into a project rather than trying to make it all work. Make things simple for yourself by recording solid takes, keeping production simple but not simplistic, mixing tracks with and for 2 ears, not 20, and master to enhance rather than to increase. Now if you'll excuse me, I'll go cry in the bathroom because I didn't follow my own advice. All is lost and nothing can cheer me up. Well, almost nothing.